Okay. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. I'm Jano Lieber, the MTA Chair and CEO, and I'm here with Chief Accessibility Officer Quamel Arroyo, that handsome gentleman right there, and New York City Transit Vice President of Paratransit. This is the guy who runs Accessoride in the Paratransit system, Chris Pangilinan. Chris is really the star of a lot of what we're going to be talking about today. We're here to underscore today the MTA's commitment to paratransit, which is our fastest growing mode of travel. It's our fastest growing piece of the MTA system. We're now serving almost 90% of pre-COVID ridership. This is one area where people are coming back in droves. Paratransit is second only to bridges and tunnels, where the cars go, in terms of the ridership recovery post-COVID. This service caters to the most vulnerable piece of our transportation population, and it's an amazing sign of progress that they are the ones who are returning to travel and to getting around at the highest level. That's a very positive sign for the region. Because generally speaking, these returning customers, our paratransit customers, don't have as many options as other MTA customers. So they need strong paratransit service to get where they're going. And I am thrilled to say they are getting unprecedented quality paratransit service. On-time performance for primary service, that's the blue and white Accessoride vans, which are still about 30% of our overall system. On-time performance has increased from 90% in September 2021 to 98% in January of 2023, 98%. And the service by what we call broker service, which are the for-hire vehicles, not Ubers, but the old-fashioned black cars and green cabs, who are 70% of these rides. Folks in paratransit, a lot of them are getting like a taxi service. Their on-time performance is 95%. These are historic numbers. Things are going so well that we're actually in the process of narrowing the window of time that we use to evaluate ourselves on-time performance. So down to a 20-minute window. So that is cutting it by a third. We're being more aggressive in how we evaluate ourselves because we have made so much progress on-time performance. The rate of no-shows, those are cabs or vans for whatever reason don't show up where they're supposed to, is down to just 0.07%. That's 7 out of 1,000 for primary service and 0.4% for brokers, killing it compared to the old days. The result is clear. Overall satisfaction among our paratransit customers has skyrocketed. We're at our all-time high of 76%, which is a 14 percentage point increase since June of 22. This is amazing progress in a very short time. I cannot commend Chris P, as we call him, across the street at MTA headquarters, enough. You have accomplished tremendous things in the short time you've been at the MTA, and it is an honor to work with somebody who, in his quiet but results-oriented way, is really moving the dial on something that makes a difference to a lot of people's lives. I have to also thank Quamel, Q, for his leadership. He's the overall leader on all of our accessibility issues, where we're making so much progress in so many different ways. Thank you, Q, for everything that you have done on paratransit, on building out an MTA system that's truly universally accessible, solving so many problems. There's much more to come for paratransit, including a better version of our MyAAR app. This is the app that is used by our paratransit customers to reserve rides. Chris is going to get into the details of the update, but we're making it much, much more user-friendly and comparable to other rideshare apps out there. We don't say Uber, but it's a little bit like an app for an Uber. Our customers deserve a seamless first-class experience on every MTA mode, and we're determined to give it to them. So I'm thrilled that Paratransit is leading the way. So with that, let me turn it over to Chris Pangilinan.
Great, thank you, Jano. Good to see everybody. Good afternoon. I'm very happy to be here today to talk about all the milestones in paratransit that we've hit over the past year. Now, as we all know, paratransit is the lifeblood for many of our fellow New Yorkers, including myself, enabling all of us to access all of the great opportunities that this city has to offer. And the past 3 years, of course, have been difficult for everybody, including public transportation. And this challenge has been especially acute here at MTA and with Access-a-Ride, with new travel patterns and a quickly rebounding ridership outpacing the availability of drivers that caused a lot of headache over the last 2 to 3 years. But the dedicated team over at Access-a-Ride and here at MTA was up to the challenge, and I'm really happy to be able to celebrate how far we've come over the past year and charting a course for the future of continuous improvement here at Access-a-Ride, while of course acknowledging that there is still a lot of work to do and we're up for that challenge. So thank you to the team, the Access-a-Ride team's efforts. We have significantly increased our capacity at Paratransit, both in terms of our dedicated carrier service, which is the blue and white van back here behind me, as well as our taxi and for-hire vehicle drivers who are critical partners for delivering paratransit customers to where they need to go. With a boost to our transportation supply, not only do we get back on track, but our customer satisfaction, as Jano mentioned, is at 76%, which is the highest it's been during the pandemic period. And it's quite a contrast to where it was about 15 months ago when we were at only 44%, so a 32-point increase in that past 15 or so months. And all the satisfaction indicators have improved even since December compared to January this past month. Our driver vacancy is down to 5% for our blue and white vans, and over the past year, we've doubled the number of eligible taxi and for-hire vehicle drivers to 9,000, which is almost a double compared to a year ago. So with that being said, let me take this out here. Okay. With that being said, I'm also thrilled to announce the improvements that our customers will be seeing booking their trips on Access-a-Ride through the My MTA app. And we'll have a little bit of a demo here. It might be that you can see. It'll also be available online to see this demo. But what we're really excited to announce is that this app, which was released on Monday, thanks to a great collaboration of all the teams here at MTA, offers our customers now an unprecedented level of convenience to book their trips. Generally speaking, most of our customers call in to book their trips, but this new app experience that's been redesigned and made more streamlined for our customers will offer them the ability to book their trips at their fingertips in less than a minute. And I'm heartened by these developments and grateful to for these kind of developments, because what it does is it gives our customers a new way to work with us and us to interface with their needs. And enables them to see where their rides are, book their trips, and get a much more clear understanding of the entire experience. Thanks to the dedication from our team at Access-a-Ride, it's paid off so far, and we've come a long way. But of course, we're continuing to look ahead at what else we can do to improve. So towards that end, we're looking to continue to increase our on-time performance goal and make the standard even stricter, as Jano mentioned, than we're being held to today. We're also looking to continue looking into the best technology available out there so we can improve and streamline our routing and reduce the amount of travel time it takes for customers to get from point A to point B, which we know is a major pain point for our riders in reducing that travel time. And we also want to continue monitoring the usage of the new app and work to promote it and onboard as many people as we can to use the app to increase their ability to book their own trips independently and increase the convenience that they have experiencing with Access-a-Ride. So in conclusion, this is a new day for Paratransit and for the My Access-a-Ride experience. We're very excited to deliver this good news, and we're very excited to continue to work hard to make all the improvements that we need to do to continue making these improvements and getting our customers where they need to go. So thank you very much, and with that, I'd like to introduce Camilo Arroyo for his remarks.
Good afternoon. Thanks so much for being here with us today. As you heard, my name is Camilo Arroyo, and I have the pleasure to serve as the MTA's very first Chief Accessibility Officer. And when I first came to this job, you heard me say that we were redefining accessibility here at the MTA. We were going to expand to talk about parents and caregivers with strollers, to talk about our aging New Yorkers and our aging community here who really created the New York that we see today, and for whom I want to continue saying, forget about moving down to Florida or the Carolinas. I want you to age in place in the communities that you help build. And for that to happen, I am going to make it so that you can move around independently with grace all around New York City. Because accessibility is not just going to your doctor's appointment. It's going to work, it's going to school, it's going to cultural and entertainment institutions like the one here behind us, and it's also going to a bar at the end of the day. And our paratransit customers use our services to go to all of those locations, and we want to continue to deliver that service for all of you all. Chris, it is truly a joy to work beside you. When I got here, accessibility was the redheaded stepchild at the MTA. And when Jano came into power, I said to him, we need a strong, world-class leader to lead paratransit. And not only did we find the very first customer to lead paratransit, but also a person with a disability himself to lead paratransit, who understands the needs of the community. And Chris, thank you for all the change that you're doing. You're rocking it. Your team is amazing, and it's really a pleasure to work with you. So thank you. As an Access-a-Ride customer myself, I see the service improving, and it's a very exciting moment in our efforts to improve the customer experience for all paratransit riders. The work that you and your team do is truly Herculean. Over 28,000 trips a day. And I'm going to repeat that because I don't want anybody to forget that figure or anyone watching at home. Over 28,000 trips a day. Over 99.9% of those successful trips getting people around the city of New York. Truly the largest paratransit system in the world. Seeing our improvements to service reflected in our pandemic-era high customer satisfaction rate is great news. And we are not declaring that the mission is accomplished, though. There's still a lot more work to be done. And you've seen that already over the last 2 years with all the successes that we've had on accessibility throughout the MTA. A historic capital plan for accessibility. Last year, issuing over $1 billion work for accessibility specifically. Our historic settlement with the disability community that crafted a 30-year plan to retrofit the entire subway system and make it accessible for everyone to move around independently. The improvements to the MyAR app, which will bring much more streamlined and user-friendly customer experience, giving customer a good alternative to booking a trip other than a phone call. Many customers will continue want to call to book those trips, and we will be servicing that. We will be there to support them along the way, but we want to ensure that there is a quicker 21st century options for those who want it. I know that these improvements to the app, with these improvements, we can get many more of our customers using this fast, seamless option to book and track their trips, just as many of us do when we book a share ride trip on the platforms that so many of us use all the time. Improving Access-a-Ride customer experience is a crucial goal for me and my office at the MTA. Quick shout out to Suri, Rachel, and Howard Levine, who work so closely with Chris and his team at Paratransit to make these changes a reality. And here at the MTA, the announcements today that we're putting are part of a bigger story that tell our successes and all the work that we're doing across the agencies on accessibility. We want all of our customers, whether they use Access-a-Ride, subways, bus or railroads, or some combination of those services, to feel empowered to get around. Because we have one customer here at the MTA, and they all want to get around safely, comfortably, and with ease. They want no surprises, and we are delivering that in all modes. Paratransit customers are also railroad customers. They're also subway riders, and we're so happy to deliver that seamless service for everyone. Better accessibility helps all customers, and we're continuing to implement improvements across those modes. Just a few weeks ago, we announced an expansion to our open stroller pilot on buses, new accessible entrances at Penn Station, and we launched just yesterday our very first ever customer service center, helping reduce fare customers make that switch to Omni. Using technology to improve the customer experience is also something that we're doing across the agency, building on the successes of our accessible station lab project at J Street Metro Tech. And we're working right now to expand some of the features we piloted at J Street that will have more to come on that later in the year. I want to thank not only Chris and his team, but Jano for his continued commitment on accessibility as a core pillar in everything that the MTA does. So thank you, Jano. Now it is a pleasure of mine to introduce Dr. Marcella Maxwell, who is one of our customers at Paratransit, for some remarks. Can we lower that microphone?
Good afternoon and thank you. Good afternoon and thank you. I am thrilled to be here this afternoon because I had a fall in my home in April and came out of my rehab in June, and Accessoride has been one of the most important components of my recovery. I am 95 years old. I'm able to go out every day. I'm able to participate in my physical therapy. I am thrilled because Accessoride comes on time, and because the employees and the staff that staff the cars, they are polite, they are courteous, and they are helpful. I was amazed to find out that Accessoride was established in 1990. The George H. Bush was our president, and it focused on 3 aspects of civil rights legislation. That was housing, employment, and transportation. This makes the difference in your recovery and your belief that our city is an age-friendly city. Thank you so much for inviting me, and I hope to participate in all of the celebrations and parades that point out the big, rich asset that Accessoride is in this city. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Marcelo. If we could have Kevin help us bring Mr. Paul Brown to the podium for some remarks, please. Another one of our Accessoride customers. I am freezing. There you go, Paul.
We got the mic for you at the right level.
Okay. Good afternoon. My name is Paul Brown. I'm 81 years old. I've been traveling on Accessoride since 2005. I'm legally blind. I belong to Visions on 23rd Street in Manhattan. Like I said, I've been on Accessoride since 2005. The service has been great. The people have been great. I've traveled on Accessoride probably 3 to 4 days a week. I was traveling a little more before the pandemic. And the people at Visions on 23rd Street are very, very pleased with the service from the blue and white vehicles. I received a call yesterday from Donna Fredrickson, and she asked me to participate in this venue today, and I'm more than happy. And I'll be more than happy to participate in any other needs that the people from Accessoride need. So again, I'm very pleased to be part of the system. I don't think we'd be going anywhere without Accessoride. So thank you very much. Appreciate it, and I appreciate the help that I received today. And thank you again.
Thank you so much, Mr. Brown and Dr. Maxwell, for those remarks. It is truly a pleasure to service you and help you move around the city of New York. Ahora, unas palabras en español para nuestros televidentes en la comunidad latina. Buenas tardes, para mí es un placer estar aquí con nuestro Chairman y CEO, Jan Oliver, y también Chris Pangilinan, el vicepresidente de New York City Transit, Paratransit, Accessoride. Estamos aquí anunciando el rating más alto que Paratransit ha recibido en la historia de nuestros pasajeros, que se está moviendo con facilidad y contentamente. El trabajo que Paratransit hace es un trabajo increíble, moviendo más de 28,000 viajes diarios. Otra vez, 28,000 viajes diarios en toda la ciudad, moviendo a nuestros neoyorquinos con las necesidades más altas. Y hoy estamos anunciando que Paratransit es de igual importancia para nosotros que nuestros clientes que se mueven en el Metro North, en el Long Island Railroad y en todo el subway y los autobuses de Nueva York. Para mí es un placer dar este servicio para neoyorquinos con discapacidad y nuestros neoyorquinos envejecientes, a cuales yo le digo que le vamos a hacer todo posible para que mantengan su independencia y se puedan mover en toda la ciudad, en la ciudad que ellos han diseñado, que ellos han mejorado y han producido, y quiero que se queden aquí en la ciudad, que se muevan independientemente, y es tremendamente un honor para nosotros darles este servicio a todos ustedes. Así que un placer y muchas gracias. Ya no Q&A.
Muchas gracias. Qué bien nuestro jefe de accessibility, Quamel Arroyo. Okay, going to switch topics now, right?
Why don't we do
Questions. Questions. Okay.
They may want to speak to Marcel.
Yeah. Marcella Maxwell, a New York education legend.
All right, on topic.
Anybody? Jose Martinez.
Hi, Jano. Thanks for scheduling a press conference steps from my office. Much appreciated. Last week during the board meeting, you mentioned how the figures, the numbers used in the DOJ report on paratransit, on accessoride failures, that it was old data. So could you say when that data was from? And at the same time, I believe it was in September of 21 that the performance metrics for accessoride were at their lowest in years. And I've spoken with people who say that even now, though there is some improvement, as you said here today, it's still not where you need to be. So could you
Okay,
speak
well,
to
let
that? Thank you.
Chris respond to your question.
Sure. Yeah. Thanks, Jose, for the question. Yeah, with the DOJ letter, we did receive that, and the data that it was based off of was before 2016. And that during that time, about 7-8 years ago now, that was a different period at MTA, a different period with Accessoride, when service was a little more difficult. But we've come a long way since then, especially in the last couple of years. And I'm very happy to say that a lot of the recommendations in that letter we've already taken care of, even before that we received it. And so we'll be working with them to make sure that we're all up to date with the data that we have today and the performance that is available today. And in recognizing your second question there about the performance, it definitely was a difficult period last fall, September through November 2021. And this was a period here in the US and around the world when we were coming out of the pandemic, acute phase of the pandemic, with a lot of labor shortages, inflation, and everything was happening, affecting all kinds of industries, not just Accessoride. So we took a number of steps to deal with that. And again, I want to thank the Accessoride team, some of them that are here today, and the rest over in Long Island City, who swung into action very quickly to increase our hiring rapidly for our blue and white vans, as well as increasing the number of partners we have in the taxi and for-hire vehicle industry. And I'm very happy to say, again, like I said in my remarks, that we've come a long way since then. And of course, we still have a ways to go. We want to make continuous improvements here and make Accessoride even better for people like Dr. Maxwell and Mr. Brown and other customers that depend on us every day.
And I just got to come back on, it was a kind of grudging description of the improvements on your part and say, no, it's important. It's important that people understand, because if we're going to motivate the government to do the right thing, you have to recognize when they do. Okay, Jose? And you're talking about 98% on-time performance of a system that struggles, that's the Accessoride system, that struggles with traffic in the most congested city in the United States, that has overcome the labor shortages that have afflicted the entire transportation industry since the onset of the pandemic. 98% on Accessoride vehicles. And the progress is reflected not just in the very kind remarks of Mr. Brown and Dr. Maxwell, but in what all the customers are telling us, which is all-time high customer satisfaction in survey responses that we do regularly, which is up 30 plus points in 15 months. So, okay, so 30%, 30 points up, 15 months, 98% on-time performance. We're going to stick by that, and we're going to stand by the pride that you see reflected in the event today.
He's texting that to the headline writers at the city.
Yeah, I know. Okay.
I'm also texting the headline writers at the city. Jano or Chris or Kamel, I'm just curious. There's been a lot said about the progress going on here, and I'm curious if you think that there's a threat to the progress, or if there are questions from the state and the MTA's commitment to this now that funding all of Accessoride is going to turn into this kind of political football as it already has in funding the MTA's budget gap in this upcoming budget.
there's no way that any of us at the MTA are going to waver in our commitment to continue delivering the caliber of service that we have right now. I'm confident that, there's always a budget season, there are always negotiations and debates, but I'm confident that none of the legislative leaders or elected leaders who are involved in that would put up with erosion of the caliber of service for this population. It's not just a policy choice, it's a civil right. We're committed to it, and I know that our elected leaders are as well.
So if the mayor is saying we can't afford it, where does that leave this commitment?
We're in the middle of budget season. Let's have that discussion after the budget's put to bed. I'm confident.
Other on-topic questions? Great. Here's what we're going to do. We're just going to do a little reset, let Mr. Brown, Dr. Maxwell get out of the call.
Yeah.
Excuse you. We have an announcement on something else, all right?
So we're changing.
Okay, for folks watching on the live stream, just want to let you know, in case you didn't hear off camera, we are going to do an announcement on another topic. It's coming up in a moment. We're just excusing the participants from this topic, and then we're going to have Jano Lieber back for an announcement.
Okay. Mi hermano. So item number 2 for the big MTA outdoor event. We have another important announcement, which is the LIR is going to begin running regular service to Grand Central Madison on Monday, February 27th. This is the switchover where the full benefit of this incredible expansion of the Long Island Railroad service is going to start to be experienced. It means another 271 trains per day. That's a 41% increase in Long Island Railroad service. It's a 41% increase over the current timetables and the largest service increase in the Long Island Railroad's entire history. All told, we're going to be running 936 Long Island Railroad trains every day during the week. A huge increase, among other things, in not just inbound service to Manhattan in the morning, outbound in the evening, but reverse peak commuting, which has been the holy grail for Long Island businesses who wanted to recruit people from New York City and other places that are west of the island. For the first time, there's going to be reverse peak commuting on what we call the Long Island Railroad Main Line, the service to Ronkonkoma and on to Port Jeff. This is transformational. Faster, more convenient travel that brings Long Island and the city closer together is a major shot in the arm for the regional economy, for the effort to get people back to offices, to shopping, to theater, to everything that connects us as neighbors and as New Yorkers who like to have the full experience of the region. It's also a shot in the arm, as I said, for the businesses on Long Island who are now going to be drawing from a much, much larger labor pool. We're so excited that our riders are going to be able to get acquainted with the new schedules in the next 2.5 weeks. Please check the new trip options, plan trips and buy tickets on the Train Time app. The new timetables are already up on the MTA website, underscored. The new timetables went up in the last half hour on the MTA website. So we are thrilled to make that major announcement. And Tim, where do we take it from here? Okay. Okay.
Unas palabras en español para nuestros televidentes. Hoy estamos anunciando que el lunes 27 de febrero vamos a comenzar con nuestro servicio a Grand Central Madison, nuestra nueva estación debajo de Grand Central. Para nosotros es un placer total poder dar este anuncio. Estos cambios al schedule ya están posteados en nuestros websites, así que háganse cómodos en las últimas 2 semanas y media que quedan para el lunes 27, cuando el servicio comenzará trayendo una añadición de más de 240 trenes que van a venir a Grand Central directamente de Long Island. Esto está cambiando el servicio que se le da a neoyorquinos en el estado de Nueva York para moverse con más eficiencia y mucho más rápido. Todos esos neoyorquinos de Long Island que trabajan en el East Side de Manhattan, cuales tenían que traspasar la ciudad de Penn Station para ir a sus oficinas, ya no tendrán que hacer eso. Encima estamos moviendo más neoyorquinos que están moviéndose de la ciudad para trabajar a Long Island con más rapidez y mucho más fácil. Un servicio tan necesitado y para nosotros es un tremendo placer. Algo histórico aquí en Nueva York está pasando y le estamos dando el servicio que los neoyorquinos se merecen y tanto necesitan. Muchas gracias.
Okay. Thank you, Q.
Still texting those headline writers. Jano, I just wanted to ask you about Speaker Adrienne Adams' comments yesterday where she said that congestion pricing is going to be a bad deal for people in the outer boroughs. You're probably sick of me asking this over and over again, but I mean, congestion pricing is getting hammered by politicians saying that it's going to be bad for everyone. Is the MTA meeting with anybody to make the case? Is there going to be like a public relations campaign? I mean, what is the plan to kind of get through this time when people have nothing nice to say about it?
Well, you know, like many things that are difficult but necessary, I'm sure there are going to be a lot of people expressing their opinions. Let me just say this. Speaker Adrienne Adams is a great partner to MTA. I disagree with her about those comments strongly. It is especially true for folks in Southeast Queens who are going to benefit from congestion pricing, because number one, only 10% of people who come to the Central Business District drive. They are disproportionately better off. That's not necessarily the case of a majority of people in Southeast Queens. And the benefit of congestion pricing is going right back into the transit system, which 90+% of Southeast Queens commuters rely on, the subways and buses and commuter railroads. So I'm happy to have that conversation with Adrienne Adams because she's a great person, a great leader, and a great friend. And we actually do talk and meet on a regular basis. But I'm confident that folks, I mean, there's definitely going to be lots of opinions expressed because it's a big change. But let's just remind everybody, yesterday there was another recap of what London has accomplished, and it just showed how you've actually reduced congestion dramatically, even as London has been able to grow the number of people who worked in its central business district, all that incremental commuter population has been using transit successfully and happily. It's a great thing, and we'll get there.
Hi, Jano. Another fair question for you. There was a recent report put out from some scholars at NYU on the MTA's construction costs, basically saying that things weren't working. Do you care to comment a little bit more in detail on that?
Sure. So I'm slightly mystified about why people want to talk about projects that were, conceived under Governor Pataki and executed under Governor Patterson or Governor Spitzer and some under Governor Cuomo, and not to talk about the projects that the MTA's actually been doing since this team has been in charge or Governor Hochul's been in office. So let's recap what those projects are and what they've accomplished. The L train rehab. Didn't have to shut the system down for 300,000 people a day. Finished early, on schedule, early relative to schedule, $100 million under budget. The third track project on Long Island, on schedule, $100 million under budget, over a 10-mile stretch of Long Island that's densely populated. Got a ton of work done. I don't need to recap it for you, Jose, but since you're asking, 10 miles of new track, 8 new stations, undergrade crossings where dangerous at-grade crossings were, raising bridges, retaining walls, sound walls, under budget, on schedule, okay? And if anybody cares to go to Penn Station, which is always a subject of great public discussion, there's a project that's been completed. Actually, today they're marking a milestone and putting the last piece of steel in that took away those crazy low steel beams and the low ceiling that was in the Penn Station concourse at the Long Island Railroad level, where you so enjoy sandwiches on a regular basis. A project that doubled the width of that corridor, raised the height, and made it feel, in that one small piece of Penn Station, like it's actually a modern transportation facility, instead of the rest of the facility, which we haven't been able to fix yet, which still feels like the dump that the 1960s bequeathed us, okay? And you know what that project was? On schedule, $100 million under budget. Is there a theme that you guys in the press might want to pick up on? I know that NYU, I think you called them scholars, they're economists, they're all kinds of smart people. Most of them are not transportation engineers or project management professionals. I respect them. A lot of their data seems to be group sourced on the internet. It's not always clear what scope they're including in projects. But the more important thing is, why are we still talking about the Second Avenue subway, which was completed 6 years ago, when I still worked in the private sector and all of my team, everybody who runs projects at the MTA, was doing something else? Why are we not talking about the projects that are being done now, hundreds of millions of dollars under budget? The new team has changed how we do projects. You've heard that story from me many times. Faster, better, cheaper. It's actually happening, and it's time that we start acknowledging what's going on now rather than wallowing in the history lessons of 6 to 25 years ago.
Anything else? Thank you. Thank you very much.